Hi everyone, it's Jenni from SlumberBaby. As you know, we're taking a little detour this week. Instead of talking about baby sleep, I'm talking more about adult sleep. But I think as parents, we all know that it's all tied together, right? So I talked about adult sleep deprivation a couple of days ago, and then yesterday I talked about sleep cycles and why the number one reason that adults are under-rested is not because we're not spending enough time in bed asleep. It's because we have interrupted sleep cycles. So if you missed those videos, be sure to scroll down in my feed and check those out. Today I want to talk about sleep aids. Human beings love being able to take a pill to fix things, right? And there are so many things out there to help you sleep these days. But I want to talk about a few of them specifically today. Prescription medications, over-the-counter medications, and finally what we might consider natural sleep aids, and what I've experienced with those and what different clients have experienced with those. So first of all, prescription medications like Ambien and Lunesta are really easy to get. You can say to pretty much any doctor that you're having a hard time sleeping and they'll write you a prescription for a powerful sleep aid. Now I know Ambien has started to come out with some different strengths, but it's worth noting when all of these started coming out on the market, people were reporting what's called Ambien amnesia, and that is people were making sandwiches, going for walks, even driving their cars without any memory of it the next day. Of course, this can be quite dangerous if you think about it. So the FDA was getting all of these reports, and they noticed that people were having all of these terrible experiences while taking Ambien or Lunesta or one of these other prescription sleep aids. And this is because instead of helping your body go down into that paralyzed deep sleep that we talked about yesterday, you are going through light sleep and then pretty much staying in REM, and then coming back up to light sleep, back down to REM. And that's why people were having such vivid dreams and having these sleepwalking, sleep driving, sleep eating experiences, because when you're in REM sleep, your brain and your muscles and everything is still really active. The FDA also began to notice that most of these adverse reactions were happening to women, specifically women with a lighter build, and looked through the trial paperwork and learned that, like many medications, these medications had been tried primarily on white men who were about 175 to 190 pounds. So women with different hormonal makeup and different builds were taking a medication that had been designed for a much heavier male. Remember that sleep is a hormonal experience. Sleep is triggered by the release of hormones. So not only were women taking a drug that was designed for a much heavier person, but they were taking a drug designed for somebody with an entirely different hormonal makeup. So of course, back to the trials we go, and Ambien and Lunesta have started specifically creating a different line of medication and a different strength specifically for females. So be sure you talk about that with your doctor if you've been prescribed a sleep aid. Next up, I want to talk about over-the-counter medications like Unisom and ZQuil. There's a bunch of them out there. These, of course, are far more gentle in their action than prescription meds, but they do pretty much the same thing. They take you down from light sleep into REM and then back up. So you're having sleep cycles, but they are lighter sleep. So you might be unconscious, but you're not dipping down into that really restorative sleep where you wake up refreshed, where your body has had a chance to restore and reset. But you are asleep, so there is that. Also, in trials, doctors were noticing that if patients woke up in the middle of the night after taking a sleep aid like ZQuil or Unisom, the hormones that were in their body, that cortisol and adrenaline that was probably the reason they took the ZQuil or the Unisom in the first place, were still there. And so patients would go from 0 to 60 and need to take more medication in order to go back to sleep in the middle of the night. Of course, the danger when you take something like that in the middle of the night is that it's still in your system when you need to get up for the day. So there's really a challenging give and take that needs to happen. in there. So it's very cyclical. let's see. I'm looking at my notes. Okay, now the one I get asked the most about, of course, is melatonin. So what's the deal with melatonin? It's natural, right? Well, yes and no. Here's the skinny. The human body does make melatonin, yes. But don't confuse melatonin with a vitamin or a mineral in the way that it's marketed as a supplement. The amount of melatonin the human body makes varies slightly for everyone and can also vary through different stages in life. Babies make a lot of melatonin. Teenagers' melatonin isn't usually triggered until later in the night, like 10:30, 11 o'clock. So that's why your teenager is up and full of energy until 10:30 or 11 o'clock. And menopausal or perimenopausal women will often experience a dip in the amount of melatonin that their body is producing, along with many other hormonal changes, of course. Does melatonin help you sleep? Absolutely it does. And it's one of the only things that will actually help you dip down into that restorative sleep. Patients will still report really vivid dreaming experiences while on melatonin, so it stands to reason that you do spend more time maybe on that REM sleep that you enter on your way back up to light sleep that I talked about yesterday, but it does help patients go down into that deep sleep. But beware, because melatonin is a hormone. And the longer you take it and the more you take, the less your body will produce naturally. Here's another thing. It's almost entirely unregulated, as many supplements are. So supplement makers have capitalized on the idea that we think more is better, and they're making 10 milligram, 15 milligram tablets of melatonin, which is way too much. That's 5 or 10 times the amount that you should be taking. And you really risk your body's natural ability to produce its own natural melatonin. Instead, what I always advise adults, mostly parents who call me and ask me about melatonin, is I say try a 0.5 milligram or 1 milligram and see if that helps. And only on those nights where you're feeling that second wind coming along and taking control, that adrenaline and cortisol is starting to make you feel like you're not going to be able to get to sleep. Really and truly, this is a medication that should be more regulated. It should be given under the care of a naturopath or a doctor. It's strong, and its long-term effects can be really difficult to overcome. When parents ask me about melatonin for their children, I generally give a similar warning. It's a hormone that your baby's body or your toddler's body is already producing, and if you decide to supplement with melatonin, you are potentially compromising your child's ability to produce melatonin naturally. Now, that said, when I travel over time zones that are 3 or 4 hour time difference, I do give my daughters melatonin temporarily. They take a tablet that has 0.2 milligrams in it, along with some chamomile and valerian. And I give that to them for 2 or 3 nights until their bodies have adjusted to the new time zone. But never long term and never huge doses. It's not safe. And there are many other natural sleep aids that are great before you reach for a pill. So ingestibles, chamomile tea, valerian root, and honey are really great ones to help calm your body down. Warm milk is a myth. Milk has sugar in it, lactose, which will wake you up. Honey also has that effect on some people. On other people, it calms them down. So be aware if you decide to try the honey. I also have clients try adding magnesium, like a magnesium supplement to their diet, something like Natural Calm that comes in a powder form that you mix with warm water and then drink. Taken daily, magnesium can be just what your body needs to calm down. It's something that is in leafy greens, almonds, banana peels, and it can really help your muscles and your brain, your nervous system calm down. Most of us are short on magnesium, as you can imagine. And behaviors, adding behaviors to your habits, like meditating, yoga, massages, cutting down on sugar, carbs, and caffeine in the afternoon, warming up your feet, And cutting screens out of the hour before bedtime should all be attempted before you reach for something like a prescription sleep aid. Now, I say all of this, of course, with the caveat that I am not a medical provider and that humans exist on a spectrum. There are people who really and truly need a sleep aid. They struggle with chronic insomnia for years, maybe even their entire life. No amount of habit forming or behavior adaptation will change that. Also, there are experiences that we have that leave us unable to sleep for long or short periods of time. Absolutely, 100%. And there are hormonal changes we go through during our lives that make our melatonin dip. And in that case, your doctor might recommend supplementing with melatonin or using something different. In this case, I always recommend people talk with their doctors or their naturopath. Trust your gut is what I'm saying. Also, maybe don't just automatically reach for the pill to solve your sleep problems, and instead opt for a route that will help you get those deeply restorative sleeps that I talked about yesterday and the day before, night after night, in a way that lasts. Tomorrow, I'll be talking about perinatal mood and anxiety disorders that are triggered from sleep deprivation and how they relate to sleep in the postpartum period. I'm hoping to have some guest posts. I know this is a topic that hits home to a lot of you, and I'm excited to see you there. So that's my take on sleep medication and supplementation, sleep aids. So if you have a sleep trick you want to share with all of us adults, please post in the comments. I'm going to link you to my Star Sleeper program up above. So if you have a little one who needs to be getting some rest before you even work on your sleep, that's right there for you. So, all right, everyone, sweet dreams. I'll see you tomorrow.